So here we are. We are currently live. And welcome to those of you. Sorry, I'm a few minutes late. I was having issues with my Ubuntu, not Ubuntu, Mint, Linux. Don't know why that is, but regardless, is what it is. Don't think it's my hardware. I think it's my software. I have to go and take a look. But welcome to those of you that are here. How you all doing? Hope you're having a great day. Sending you all big love, big blessings. Corby 2.0. I hope you're having a great weekend. Hope you enjoyed yesterday's show. Today should promise to be a interesting and positive little adventure. Namaste, dear Anna. How are you doing? Sending you big love. I pray my audio is good. Ay, ay, ay. I got dogs. They dented my beautiful copper container. It happens. They knocked it over. While I was running around with my little boy, my 8-year-old, getting him to make sure that he's ready for bed. And it took a bit longer than usual. I promised him a Mr. Bean episode. Namaste, dear Vincent. How are you doing? Sending you love. Hope you're good. Hope you're well. Today is going to be a lovely little discussion. I also think, this is something which is everybody knows about shadow work, but possibly like people haven't realized some of the rather accessible techniques that are quite simple and can have a lot of positive and powerful effects on the development of these emotional complexes and bringing them into a state of harmony. So I'm just getting this piece of media ready. Okay, so a few of you are still popping in. We'll give another couple of minutes to people that are arriving. Shadow work, where do we start? We start, Ori, go and lie down on your bed, my darling. Go, on your bed. Good dog. Those big footsteps that you hear are my Malamute. And he walks around the house. It's like, doof, 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 doof. He's such a big dog. So the shadow. There's been a lot said about the shadow. And I think that there's often a misconception related to the shadow. We see the shadow as being related to negative impulses, which it often is. And we often tend to associate our negative emotions with the shadow. But it's also important to associate positive emotions with the shadow. And this is why, like, for example, when we're talking about having a visionary experience, this is something people don't always take on board. Those euphoric moments that we experience during visionary experience, this is also the shadow revealing itself. That's quite an interesting perspective. So whatever we repress, that's what the shadow is. The joy that we repress, the fulfillment that we repress, the peace that we repress. Let's say we are on a 9-to-5, go get a job, pushing hard, success. And so we sacrifice our moments of just sitting and watching the sunrise and having a moment to just relax. Those peaceful moments will be what the shadow will represent. So the shadow will then come out with those peaceful moments, but it will often come out in an unbalanced and not so harmonic way. So instead of the peaceful moments being expressed as peace, they will come out as a sense of sloth or laziness. That possibly we will have that imbalance, right? So we will be totally focused on the things that we want to do, but the other things we won't be having the energy to fulfill. Namaste, dear Bernadine. I hope you're good. Namaste, Mexico. Big love, big blessings. So yeah, it's important to recognize that the positive elements as well as the negative elements are what we repress. Though when we are working with the shadow, what we are aiming towards is not to heal and not to fix. This is really, really, really important to establish this set idea in our consciousness. We are not here to fix the shadow. We are not here to heal the shadow. The moment we have the ideas of healing and fixing, we're missing the point. Because the idea of healing and fixing means that there's something wrong with the shadow, which means that the shadow is worthy of our judgment. Now, the judgment is the reason the shadow exists. This is why we have this disassociation, this duality that separates. So we separate ourselves from, let's use a hypothetical situation. Let's say we were in a childhood situation where we were not allowed to ever express ourselves. So that lack of self-expression would then manifest as an unbalanced form of self-expression. So there would then be an excessive boisterous. So we would be looking at number one element here. That would be the main element. And there's normally going to be more than one element when we consider these things, in fairness. It's not just going to be as simple as just one thing. So looking at this then, we've got this element of the leader, we've got this egoism and insensitivity. So we would then be insensitive to other people expressing themselves. And that insensitivity to other people expressing themselves would thus turn into us becoming excessively expressive when we're expressive, but in a totally incoherent and insensitive way, without being aware of how we're affecting the people around us. This can often lead to a form of sort of sociopathy or negative trait if we allow it to become over accentuated. So, and everyone, like the empathy, if we were in a situation where we were continually being told what's wrong with us by our parents, hypothetically, then we might have become hypersensitive to criticism, and we might have become highly impressionable and start looking for validation from our parents and validation from the outside. And so that number two element could work against us in the way that we are then unable to face up to things we need to face up to. Sometimes we need to confront matters. Sometimes someone is bang out of order. Instead of facing up and saying, you are out of order with what you just said to me and did to me, we would go, well, it must be my fault. It must be something I did, right? That shopkeeper, when I smiled and said good morning, and they looked at me and sneered at me and says, might be a good morning for you. There must have been something I did to offend them. Maybe it's because I smiled and I made a comment about what a beautiful morning it is out there. How's your morning going? Maybe I offended them, when actually, logically, you didn't do anything to offend anybody. So these elements, you're completely right, Vincent. When it comes to number one, sunlight's what we're looking for. Number two, if that is your issue, the moon is excessive in its effects towards us. So whichever element of the shadow we are tackling, we need to be able to focus on this. So there's three things to consider when we're working with shadow work. And I'm going to give you some cool little exercises that you can do. Some of them are really simple. Some of them are a little bit more complex. But there are three main elements to observe. And when we observe these three elements, it's really quite simple. The first part of the shadow work is identifying the shadow, is becoming aware of the shadow, is tuning into the shadow, and Mexico, walking on eggshells, that's often when you've had a parental figure that has been overly controlling and overly not giving you the opportunity for self-expression. And so that's, then becomes trying to avoid confrontation, which obviously isn't completely healthy either. None of these 9 elements, and I'd like you to take a look at this for a moment, right? So, the Mars number 9 element could become impulsive or frustrated. So if impulsivity or frustration is your thing, Mars is where you're going to find some kind of a solution for this. We mentioned the solar element of egoism and insensitivity, the lunar element of being hypersensitive or impressionable. Number 3, if your Jupiter is what's the issue, then you could become scattered or overconfident, brash. If number 4, your North Node is the issue, we're talking about Uranus, then it could be a stubbornness or even an element to become controlling of this is right and that is wrong. This is the right way. It must be done like this. I've got a lot of number 4 in me. I can be like that. I had to learn to deal with this energy. If it's number 5 and it's Mercury, there could be elements of incoherency. It could be nervousness, incoherency, the communication getting tongue-tied, trying to talk. The mind and the mouth isn't working at the same speed, mind working faster than the mouth. Yeah? If it's the artist, if it's Venus, it could be envy. It could be vanity. It could be an obsession with the sweet and good things in life and comfort, to the point where, I can't go out there now because it's not comfortable. I need to always be in a comfortable surrounding. And the moment you're not in a comfortable surroundings, you feel nervous or unbalanced, and it causes all these other elements to come out. The mystic could be too aloof. There could be an element of escapism, not being invested. That would be the number 7, the south node relating to Neptune. And then, of course, Saturn would be like excessive materialism. And that could lead to being very competitive due to, wanting success so much. And that would mean that the emotions would be completely avoided. So there would be no expression of the emotions. The emotions would be so tightly controlled because the self-control would be over excessive and it would always be the bottom line. So these are the sort of 9 elements to look for. And understanding how these 9 elements come together is really a big part of the first stage. Now, when it comes to identifying the shadow, there are some powerful techniques. To begin with, I would say this. It's really important that when we do the shadow work, that we are in a state of psychological harmony to begin with. Now, this can be achieved through various means, right? It could be achieved by doing a lesser banishing ritual, if that is your spiritual path. It could be achieved by doing Ganapataye mantra, Aum Ganapataya Namaha. That could be a path you could use. It could be working with a positive affirmation. It could be doing an elemental cleansing, probably cleansing yourself with frankincense or with sage, smudging. It could be playing a drum. You could be playing a drum, be getting into a buzz, play the drum for 5 minutes, listen to the rhythm, allow yourself to chant, if you have a sacred chant to flow with the drum, or allow yourself to express yourself. It could be a dance. You could dance for 5-10 minutes before you do this. Put on some really lovely ambient music and just flow with your body. Just loosen up. Really important to drop the inhibitions and to cleanse the psyche prior to doing shadow work. Now, these are all examples that I'm giving. I'm going to prescribe, if you're really serious about doing shadow work, I would prescribe, I'd set a prescription here. And the prescription would be fairly simple. I would prescribe 40 days. 40 days of solar gazing. That means staring at the sun for 40 days. That means trying to get to a place where you can watch the sunrise, even if it means you have to go upstairs. If you've got a home and you've got upstairs, open a window. You don't want glass between you and the sun. Even if it's winter and it's cold, put on a jacket. And make eye contact with the rising sun, or as close to the rising sun as what you can make eye contact. Yeah. And if you can't see the rising sun, stare directly at the east, as close to the skyline as you can during the rising of the sun, and feel that radiance on the eyes. And as the sun rises, make contact with the sun. Even if you have to go somewhere for a little walk to get to a little place, if it's accessible, or if you live in a city and it's built up, maybe you can make an arrangement with someone across the road in a building where you can go to the roof for the mornings. Maybe there's some system, but I would recommend this is one of the very powerful techniques. And you stare at the sun for 40 days. So you do a 40-day course, and you might need an umbrella. And even if there are gray clouds, even if you can't see the sun, even if it's overcast, you are still looking at the sun. recognize this and realize just because there's gray in front of the sun, all that gray is really just a thick lens of water. And that water might be diamagnetic and dielectric and have all these interesting qualities, but the light, most of the light passes through. And certain spectrum of the visible light might not, but a lot of the light that passes through is relevant. It still activates the pineal gland. The practice of this solar gazing is stimulating the pineal gland. This is going to have a powerful, energizing effect on the thalamus. The thalamus is a filter and a relay station for all of the senses other than the sense of smell. We'll get to smell. This is why I mentioned smudging. And this will give the relay station and the filtration process for the filters of reality an opportunity to be in a state of harmony, because we need to be honest with ourselves. This is like fundamental to all shadow work. So we then do this 40-day course of the solar gazing. And you will find that as you do this 40-day course, you will become more and more joyful, more and more positive, more and more grounded within yourself, your conscious awareness. You'll become consciously more positive. This is one of those effects of solar gazing. It has a powerful effect on the pineal. It improves concentration. It improves memory. It improves all the good stuff. Now, memory is going to be it's going to be one of your powerful allies as you get into the deep shadow work, because the activation of your memory through the solar gazing 40-day course is going to enhance the memory so that the memory becomes supercharged. Once we've done the 40-day course, then we're going to use the sun to activate our shadow. What does this mean? If you've got a place where there's a wall behind you, that's good. If there's a white wall, that's ideal. Or any wall behind you, that can work. Then you are going to turn your back on the sun. So you're going to watch the sun after the 40 days. You're going to continue doing the solar gazing, but you're going to watch the sun for a short period, 10 minutes, 5 minutes. You'll find that with every day that you do the solar gazing, you can lengthen a little bit more time that you spend looking at the sun. Obviously, there's only a certain period of time you can watch the sun, but as you practice more and more, you can go to like 15, 20 minutes. But, 5 minutes, 4 minutes to begin with, 3 minutes to begin with, then 4 minutes, 5 minutes. Keep it within 10 minutes. You don't need to push it. So this then becomes a powerful cleansing ritual for the pranic energy field, which is going to stand us in good stead when we start working with the shadow. So we then watch the sun for a while, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, once it's risen, as much as we can get a good activation from the sun. We then turn around with the sun behind us and we observe our shadow, be it on a wall, be it on a rock, or even if it's on the ground. We observe the shadow. Now, you'll notice that when you're doing the solar gazing, it's important as you're doing the solar gazing not to allow your mind to just randomly walk through thoughts, plan the day. The whole purpose of solar gazing is to concentrate and meditate on the light of the one, for the light of the one is the light of the sun. Yeah. Meditate on the light of the sun, for the light of the sun is the light of the one. Yeah. It's a little track a friend of mine and Tama came up with, like a little rhyme he used to chant all the time. We used to play music in London many years ago. It stuck with me. But there's something powerful in this. We used to do a lot of solar gazing. This was back, 20 years ago, whatever, 15 years. But so anyway, working with this particular solar power, if I can use that term, we then start doing our course of now observing our shadow. Now, where do we root our focus? Because this is a meditation. So we're breathing in. When we're observing the sun, we're breathing in the sun and we're breathing out the sun. We're breathing in the sun, we're breathing out the sun through our eyes and through our hands. You can put your hands down and just have them sort of facing up towards the sun, or you can have them up here, wherever you feel comfortable putting your hands. Try different postures. And so when you're doing the solar gazing, you're breathing the sun in through the palms of your hands and through your eyes. And you're breathing the sun out through the palms of your hands and through your eyes. And when you turn around, to face the sun. You have your palms turned backwards towards the sun behind you. You feel the sun touching your palms, activating your pranic field. When you do this 40-day course of observing the sun, you'll notice how your energy body starts to vibrate and how it becomes activated by the solar fire. Now we become activated by the solar fire, but we root our attention meditatively on the nape of our neck, of our shadow. And we're breathing in the shadow, and we're breathing out the shadow. And we start by doing this for 5 minutes, right? And then you can lengthen this little bit by little bit, to the point that it becomes 7 minutes or a 10 minutes, even a 15-minute meditation. Now, I would do a lunar cycle of this breathing. That's how I would work it. Work a lunar cycle, 30 days, 29 days. And you will find that as you start to focus on the nape of the neck, it gets to the point where you start feeling sensations on the nape of your neck. It's quite interesting how this works. So this is when the work is starting to become when it's really working for you. You'll start noticing there's a sensation on the nape of your neck. You might feel like the hair raising on your neck. You start becoming aware of deep currents. You might suddenly start becoming aware of emotions you weren't aware of, feelings, deep thoughts trying to find their way. The key is not to allow yourself to just associate wildly. Just observe the nape of the neck of the shadow. Just observe that. Everything else that happens in the consciousness is happening in the background because my focus is on the nape of the neck of the shadow. That way, there's a sufficient amount of detachment so that what is being noticed on the periphery and not as the object. So you don't get carried by a stream of thought that has been stimulated by an emotion. Not during this time. When you've finished with this, you then turn around, eyes closed, because by now the sun is bright, facing the sun with eyes closed so that you're not damaging your eyes, and you breathe the sunlight in to flush the system. So now you've done your little exercise. It shouldn't take long. It's a morning exercise. And I'm going to add to this by saying that if you wake up early in the morning and you can experience a dawn outside, this is really positive. The color sky change, like I call it with my boy. If you can experience that, it's going to be really a positive and powerful effect because the different color gradients that the sky is moving through towards the sunrise also tunes the pineal gland in the eyes in a very profound way. So the earlier morning, the better. Now what we do is we go home. But you've got a diary. You've got your diary with you, right? You write down in your diary any thoughts, any impressions that came to you during this exercise. That you were focusing on the shadow, but suddenly you started feeling this emotion. Maybe you felt a little bit nervous at one point. Maybe you felt a little bit like frustrated. Maybe you felt impatient. Maybe you felt angry. Maybe you felt very subtle emotion. Maybe some thought come to you that this is silly. What am I doing? Whatever thoughts, whatever feelings, judge them not. Just write them down. And you're going to have a little diary, which is your shadow work diary, specifically for your shadow work, not related to any other element of your shadow. Now, this is a morning session for the shadow work. We now put that away, right? And we go home and we get ready. Now, while you're getting ready, I want you to continue the practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness is going to be the key to the shadow work. But in order for the mindfulness to be a success, one has to have developed the muscle for mindfulness. Now, mindfulness is not some complicated Buddhist thing or that. It literally means the mind is full. Simple. Full mind. What is the mind full of? Sense. We want to be sensible. In order to be sensible, we need to be full mind, full of sense. So, you go home, your senses are full, the sound of the birds. You go in, the sense is full with the key in the lock. Sense is full of the motion of walking through the house. Sense is full with the sensations of coolness and warmth in the body. Have a shower, whatever it is that you do in your mornings. Sense of the water, the feeling. When the mind wants to start going off on a journey towards thinking this and thinking that, bring it back to filling the mind with sense. That way we become more sensible, literally. So this practice of mindfulness is what we do in the morning. The reason for the practice of mindfulness is to develop a muscle. That muscle, when it gets stronger, the more we do it, is then going to be applied to the other practices that we're going to do. So that morning exercise is designed as an unconscious release valve to reveal shadow elements to the psyche. And in this unconscious revelation of these elements to the psyche, we are going to be able to start gaining insights into our mechanisms. We might want to act out certain impulses. This is why the mindfulness is going to be such a powerful tool. This is why we flood our energy field with sunlight after the shadow work, in order to clear out any of the debris that has come into the conscious awareness by the contact with the unconscious, which is the viewing of the shadow on the wall is a conscious, coherent act of connecting with the unconscious using a very simple ritual. That ritual is literally observing my own shadow. And in the process of observing my own shadow, based upon the neck, which is the Visuddhi chakra, which relates on a Venus level to vibration, which relates to the deep psychic elements of our nature. And those deep psychic elements are emotional in nature, not related to the feeling of the heart, but the emotional content that becomes felt by the heart rests within the throat. So this chakra being active is a key part to the emotional processing, so that we can start to feel those emotions in the heart. There's a certain degree of importance just by the act of gazing upon the shadow. So we then go through our morning, get ready, and practice mindfulness. Now, when you go to work, this is going to improve your day at work, because you've had the solar stimulation in the eyes. You're going to be more optimistic, you're going to be more positive, you're going to be more able to cope with whatever the work is throwing at you. And you've been practicing mindfulness the whole morning. Now you allow your mindfulness to carry you through your day at work. And you will find that the more mindful you become, the more productive you get, whatever work you're doing. You'll find that your productivity increases. Your functionality improves. It should take no functionality away from you. It's really important that these exercises are designed to increase and improve functionality, coherency, and of course, be a practical addition to our lives, not something that is detrimental. So we then have our diary with us. Now, here is an important part. During the morning, because we have now activated our shadow, superpowered our solar potential, we are going to notice, coming into the office, I feel this irritation with John, Mary, Sam, whatever. We're going to observe that. The key with the mindfulness practice is to learn not to judge. It is an impulsive human trait to want to judge. Judge our situation, judge ourselves, judge each other, judge dynamics. The key when we're doing shadow work is not to judge. This is how we allow for the resolution of the shadow. And this is what leads to the integration of the shadow. So we're still in the first stage of the shadow work, which is identifying the shadow and becoming coherently aware, cognizant of these deep shadow impulses. So we are going to then be observing our own reactions throughout the morning and the day. Something the boss said during a meeting made me feel self-conscious. While you're sitting there, you can have your little diary next to you and you can just write in there, self-conscious. Carry on with the meeting, right? People make notes during meetings. There's nothing wrong with it. You can keep your little diary as a companion with you, and Anything that happens, you make a note of it. You know, if somebody makes a joke that makes you feel self-conscious, or somebody does something that makes you feel annoyed with them or irritable, or you feel like not really enjoying the vibe in the office, there's a weird vibe, everybody feels a bit like this, or you feel like everything's really great, I feel like a real connection with John today that I don't know, whatever it is, negative or positive, you just jot it down. Close the book on it. We don't want to dwell. We don't want to consider it. The act of writing it down means that we have now put it somewhere. Sort of like there's an alarm clock going off and I don't want to listen to it, so I push the button, turn it off, and put the alarm clock in a drawer and put it away. Don't want to think about it. It's not relevant now. I'll come back to that later. So the act of writing these little things down are just to make notes of the things. When you're on your lunch hour, you can take a moment to look at what you've written down and just maybe add a little bit of information to it just to keep it in the memory. Right? So you made this note, John uncomfortable. Yeah. Then you just add, well, John said this, John did that. John had a body odor that was really freaking me out. Whatever it is. Just make a little note. And you got your little notes of the things that have happened throughout the day. Then anything that happens, and we're looking for the emotional content. We're dealing with our own reactions here. This is what we're looking for. And no matter how small or how big it is, not to judge whether it's important or not, just put it in the book, forget about it. So this is how we go through that day. This then becomes an appendage or an appendix to the act of mindfulness. Because now we're applying our mindfulness in a very practical and coherent way in order to keep track. We're also exercising the memory. That's really important because the memory is how we're going to really do the work. Now we get home after our day at work. Now we've got some real time for diary, right? So we can do some proper diary. Now we sit down with the diary and we do the diary work. And we write a little proper piece of information because now that we've implanted the seed of the word, the shorthand, and then added to it during our lunch break, now we've got the possibility, or whenever we had a minute, you're working, you've got 5 minutes between what you got to do, 5 minutes for the diary quickly. It only takes 2 or 3 minutes to update it. Now you get home and you read what you've written and you consider it. You take some time to think about it. How did I feel? You don't need to explain why you felt the way you did, but ask yourself, why did I feel this way? Don't answer the question. Wait for the answer. There's a difference between answering a question that I've asked myself and waiting for the answer as if I don't know the answer. It's like dropping a penny into the well and waiting. In a coherent structure, this becomes rather fundamental. And so this way, we basically get into the habit of interacting with our emotional body in a careful, structured, and balanced manner. The book represents the weapon of the heart zone. Tiferet if you're a Kabbalist, or Anahata Chakra if you're a Vedic practitioner. The heart fire is what we're working with when we work with the book. So it's a powerful, magical weapon that you can employ to improve the coherency of the emotions that are felt and how we process the emotions. The energetic resonant frequencies of vibrations that we are aware of that we then feel and process. So this is basically a big chunk of the shadow work. There is more. Now it sounds like a lot, but it's actually not a lot. We're talking so far about 15, 20 minutes in the morning, right? And then maybe 3 minutes when you're at home writing down. The mindfulness is just a good practice anyway. It will clarify your mind. You'll be much more focused at work. You'll be more aware. You'll be more productive and more efficient because of the mindfulness, less scattered energetically. Concentration and memory will be better. Then we spend maybe throughout the day, 20 seconds here, 10 seconds here, jotting down notes. It's another 3-4 minutes during the morning. And when we get home, we spend maybe 5 minutes considering what's happened in the day, It could be 5 or 10 minutes. So all in all, we've spent about 30 minutes of our day spread out with a little bit in the morning working with our shadow. We then do our evening practices. Writing in the diary reminds you coherency comes from mindfulness. So we then want to practice becoming more mindful of what we're doing and observing how we go through things. That mindfulness is such a powerful tool because you're standing in a queue waiting for a bus, hypothetical, and you feel frustrated because the queue isn't moving fast enough. It could be at the train station. It could be in traffic. You're in your car. You're feeling frustrated because you can't get across the road quickly enough, right? The lights are red. It's a bit annoying. Oh, the next lights are red. Damn, why this? Aware, coherent mindfulness. I'm reacting to the fact that I'm delayed. Well, there's nothing I can do about it. So I'm just going to observe my feelings reacting to this. There's this weird driver in front of me. I don't feel safe with this driver. I don't feel safe. Interesting. Just be aware of it. That awareness is great. You might not have been aware that you don't feel safe with the driver in front of you, and so you might have had an accident. But because you're mindful now, you're going to just keep a bit of a distance from that person. Maybe there's a reason I don't feel safe, but regardless, no judgment. I'm just going to observe. I don't feel safe. I'm going to take it easy. I want to feel safe. So there's this balance that we move through life with, and this mindfulness becomes a powerful tool that's actually sculpting us all the time. Now, after we've done our supper and everything, here's the second part of the mindfulness training, right? You then sit with your diary, right? And you put your diary down. And what you want to do is you want to do a very simple exercise. It's called the daily review. This is powerful training for the memory and powerful opportunity to once again observe the self. What did I miss? There's no goal, nothing to fix, nothing to gain. There's nothing wrong. You just want to relive your day backwards. So you're sitting down in your chair, and in your mind, you're sitting down in your chair. You go back. Well, I walked from the bathroom to here, brushing my teeth. I had supper. I watched that program, that YouTube, whatever. I did this. I wrote in my diary. I had a conversation with a friend or a family. I gave my girlfriend a bit of the good loving, whatever it is that you did. And, then I traveled home from work, I did this, and you just go through your day and you observe what happened and your reaction to it. That's all. Step by step by step, until you get to the point that you're in the morning, you've stared at the shadow, you've relived those feelings that you had during the shadow, you've looked at your staring at the sun and gotten back into bed in the morning. Now you're done. Now that you've done this process, just sit for a moment and just observe your feelings. Anything coming to mind after reliving the day? Is there anything that's bugging you? Something's bugging me, Like, I don't like the way I reacted to that person in the office. They weren't trying to be rude, but I was a little bit offish towards them because I felt like they were being pushy. Or I felt angry towards them. I felt frustrated, or I felt like I didn't say what I should have said. Whatever your thoughts are, just aware. Write it down in your diary. Felt this morning when I felt this. I felt that way. These are the things I felt. Don't need to fix it. You don't need to judge it. You're just aware of it. You close the book. Put the book in its place. You, in your mind, clear your mind. You can do some affirmations. I feel like I'm in a state of harmony. Right? I feel the harmony of peace resonating through my being. I feel the harmony of peace resonating through my being. Probably a really good one to concentrate on, right? Because it's about I feel. And feelings are what we're working with the shadow work. So we do this every day, every day, every day, every day. And your daily review becomes your powerful tool. And once you've done the course of the solar work, keep gazing at the sun. Take a break from staring at the shadow. You do not want to overactivate the shadow. You will be noticing if it gets to the point where it's getting quite intense, because you're becoming hypersensitive to the shadow, pull back from gazing at your shadow in the morning. The only reason you're gazing at the shadow in the morning is so that you can open yourself to the hidden impulses of your shadow. Once that's done, you don't need that. So don't overdo that. This is the caution and the important consideration to have when doing these exercises. Because now we are revealing the emotions that are within us, and we don't want to overload it. Yeah? You've unpacked enough stuff on the desk to deal with for now. If I feel like I've unpacked enough stuff, then hang back on the observing the shadow, but still do the sun gazing. Even after the 40 days, continue the solar gazing for the whole period. Solar gazing should then be a positive thing that you do all the time. It's part of your shadow work. It's part of your important part of your shadow work, because that's going to keep rationalism. The sun is going to keep your mind clear, right? It's going to keep a clear perspective so that you're able to have a conscious experience of these feelings and these emotions running through the psyche. Now, a few points with this, right? As we start to go deeper into the shadow, we start to notice that there are certain patterns. And now we do a full lunar course of this. Depending on how intense the experience of the emotions are getting, decides whether or not you do more of the gazing at the shadow. You got to be very honest with yourself. It's very important, self-honesty. Now we're going to start looking into our past. Maintaining all of these practices on a weekend at a time when you're relaxed. You do a slightly longer. Cast your mind back further. Cast your mind back year by year by year by year. You don't have to remember everything in the year. Just focus on a certain time where you were at a point in your life. We're looking at the childhood. So at certain points during the shadow work, certain things are going to come up. Memories are going to pop up. Like, oh, I remember what happened. Like, I remember a sibling being nasty to me. Or I remember a parent being insensitive or being aggressive or rash or being controlling, or just comes to consciousness. That you write that down in the diary. Those are important points, because those are points we're going to start with. Then on a weekend time, or on a time that you have time, you then sit down and you spend 10 minutes considering that chapter of your life. Observing that, like I noticed the way my family dynamic worked. I never felt like I could express myself at home, or I always felt like I wasn't good enough for my parents, or I always felt like my parents were a bit dim. Whatever it is, right? Whatever that impulse is, it could be one or the other, it could be something different, I felt like in school I wasn't very intelligent, or I felt like in school the other kids were a bit dim, or I felt like the teacher was picking on me, or I felt like I didn't belong here. I felt like this life, I didn't belong in this place where I was. I felt like an outsider with my parents. I felt like I couldn't relate to them. Whatever these thoughts are, we're going to go back to our childhood. And so this becomes a very powerful tool. We start looking at childhood complexes. Most of our shadow elements are residue from the childhood development. Really important to recognize this. It's completely based upon, let me just silence this device. It's completely based upon these patterns that we've developed from childhood. Now, one of the tools that we can use for this, right? So this is one of the tarot cards that I would advise you to meditate on, right? Because meditating on this particular archetypal image will give you quite a powerful sense. So if you don't have a tarot card, you get an image of this and print it. We're not going to be working with all the major arcana. We're not going to be working with the tarot, whether you work with the tarot or not. This card represents Taurus, represents the fixed structure in our personality that is a result of the conditioning factors that have brought us to where we are. That's what this archetype represents. And so just gazing at this image while we are focusing on the past, this can become a fixed perspective, like an open eye meditation. Print it out. If you've got a tarot pack, just put the card down in front of you and just gaze at the card, 5 minutes, a few minutes, while you allow free associations from your childhood to run through your consciousness. This card will be like a magnet, and it will pull certain elements out of your psyche for you to observe. Then you put the card outside. Even if you don't get anything immediately, that's fine. We're not looking for results. We're looking to do. That's really, really important to understand here. So this is the Hierophant. This is, I use the Rider-Waite because the symbolism in the Rider-Waite is quite positive, right? And here we see the three elements, right? The past, the future, the present. And those are the three elements of structure. And they also, if you want to get right down to it, they also relate to the three perspectives. So the first part that we've done now is coming to terms with facing and observing the shadow, stage 1. Stage 2 is now starting to work with the shadow. Working with the shadow is when we're actually going back into our childhood and we're actually starting to engage with those childhood currents and starting to feel what happened. If something happened in the classroom that made you feel uncomfortable, go back to that classroom, right? For example, I was in a school full of rich kids when I was in Sachs. And all of these kids, they came from really super rich families. I wasn't from a rich family. I felt a little bit daunted when I went to my friends' houses. Like many of my friends, they had really nice houses in really nice areas. Some of them had tennis courts and jacuzzis and all sorts of stuff on the property. And I was like, gosh, you guys live in mansions. You guys are rich. In my understanding, we lived in a little cottage. I wasn't rich like all of the other children that I went to school with. So on some level, I felt a little bit sort of a little daunted. That's important to recognize. That's something that I had to observe within myself. And there could be other things that happened, whatever it is from your childhood that comes up. And the earlier we go in our childhood, the better. Now, there are other tools that we can use to gain intense prominence into the childhood. This daily review, as we practice it, as we become more refined and better at the daily review, we're going to take the daily review to the next level and to the next level and to the next level. But while we're doing the first 2 months of this course, after we've done the 40 days of just solar gazing, and we're still doing solar gazing, we are now moving into looking at this childhood matters and which ones are most prominent, and allow those to come out one by one and to allow ourselves to observe it. Do not judge the way we feel. Feel the emotions we feel. Just observe the way we feel and put it down in the diary, and that's it. You don't read the diary. Oh, by the way, you do not read the diary. I repeat, it is not about fixing. It is not about gaining understanding. It's not about figuring it out. It's just about being aware. You put it in the diary, you forget about it. The idea with the diary is you come back after 3 years and you read it. Maybe a year. I'd say 3. Wait 3 years before you read the diary of this year. Read the diary of 3 years before. And when you've been doing it for like 3 years, you read the diary from your first year. Think about it. That way, you really are letting it go. It's so important to let it go and to just flow with it. So these basic tools are going to give us that attitude that we require, where we're becoming aware of these impulses, aware of these emotional points, aware of how we feel, how we react. And once we've been doing this for 3 months, we are ready to go into the next level. You know, we're ready to go to the next level. Or what's the next level? Well, self-honesty. This is the hard one. It's very hard to be honest with ourselves. We might think we're being honest with ourselves, but we're not. I worked for years and years and years with a mirror. So now, still maintaining the daily review, still maintaining all of this, we're going to add one element to our toolkit. So by now, just to be aware, you're doing maybe half an hour, 25, half an hour during the day. And in the evening, you're doing maybe 15 minutes daily review and 5 minutes diary time. You're doing 20 minutes, you're doing 50 minutes. We're now going to turn this into an hour. We're now going to add 10 minutes of gazing into the mirror. So before we do the daily review, we're going to sit with a mirror and we're going to look into our own eyes in the mirror. Now, the key is to look into your own eyes. Don't look at your nose and go, oh, my nose, look at my skin, oh, look at that, oh, look at that, oh, I'm beautiful, look at my hair. Oh. No, just look into your eyes. Just observe. And in time, you start maybe feeling a little self-conscious. If you're feeling a bit self-conscious, then you might want to pat yourself on the back for job done, but don't. You don't need to. Patting yourself on the back is not going to do you any good. Be aware of the self-consciousness. If it's a positive self-consciousness, if it's a negative self-consciousness, you could be looking and going, you got it, baby, look at you. No, that's not what you're looking for. Well, you're not looking like, shh, look at that. Who the hell are you? No, you don't want either of those, right? You're just looking into your eyes. But what this does is it creates a feedback loop in the consciousness. Because now you're observing yourself. You're just observing yourself and you're looking into your eyes. And as you look into the mirror and you look into your eyes, in your eyes you see reflected the you in the mirror. That's quite a cool, funky thing, by the way. You're sitting in front of a mirror, you're looking into your eyes, and in your eyes you see the mirror of you in your eyes. Inside your eyes there's a you inside your eyes. That's like a very powerful fractal perception. Just be aware of it. Just watch it. That is like the next level ritual. That's now going to uncover deeper aspects of yourself. Be aware that when you're doing this, you do need to continually be practicing mindfulness. If you're not practicing mindfulness, there's an issue. Now, disclaimer. While you're doing this practice, if you start to observe a lot of negative traits that you're feeling like self-conscious about, make sure you're doing your solar gazing. Because the solar gazing is a protection. Think of it as a protection spell. It's a good way to think of it. Gazing at the sun, powerful protection spell. Prana, wash my consciousness. Prana. The sun emits prana. Prana is processed by the leaves of a tree. The leaves process the prana and alchemically turn it into crystals. Those crystals are sugar. All living beings require those sugar crystals, which is like the solar potential of the sun that's been stored in a crystal that can be released. And that sun energy can then flow through your body and be used to charge up the metabolic reactions as well as your psychic metabolic reactions, your energetic and your emotional energetic reactions, all released by the sugar. And this is really what we're looking at when we're looking at the sun. So this is solar potential, solar energy. And the same way that the sun is used by the plants to generate sugar crystals, when we're gazing at the sun, we're creating etheric sugar crystals, metaphorical crystals in our aura, structuring our aura. Aura is being structured. And that structuring of the aura is very important. That's solar power. It's invaluable. So if you get to the point where at any point you're feeling like you're becoming very sensitive to this, then slow down with the other exercises, do your daily review, and write in your diary and practice mindfulness. Until that subsides, right? And the self-consciousness, you just be aware of it, you observe it, until you just watch it patiently. It's a waiting game, right? So the wait of Saturn, the contemplation of Saturn, the meditation of Saturn undoes the kinks of time, but it undoes it slowly. And it doesn't undo it because you're undoing it. It just becomes unkinked because it's a natural state of being unkinked. So that's a little bit of a disclaimer because you don't want to overdo it. Now, this gazing at oneself in the mirror becomes such an incredibly powerful thing. You're going to see animals in your face. You're going to see other creatures. You're going to see different versions of yourself. If your psychic energies are awakening, you might see a Tibetan version of yourself. You might see a Japanese or Indian or Chinese or an African version of yourself. And you'd be like, what am I seeing? Who are these people that look like my eyes, but they're not me? Don't be concerned about that. Don't go like, oh, wow, I wonder who this past life is or what ancestor I'm looking at here. Don't get caught up in the small fry. Just the process of observing. But that will start to become a powerful doorway in to the unconscious. And when you're done, remember, the ritual is closing the book. Right? That's the powerful ritual. The ritual of closing the book is when you close that book, do it ritualistically. Hold the book in your hands, close the book and say, I close the book on this. Do it as a powerful ritual, as a neuro-linguistic trigger that's programmed in. Use words, use fancy gestures, hold the book in two hands and close it as if you're like on a stage in front of people doing a ritual. This little bit of pomp. Don't feel self-conscious about it. Do it. Because the more ritualistic you make this act of closing the book, the more powerful the act of closing the book becomes. So you are now generating and facilitating your own powerful ritual using everyday actions that are incredibly powerful. Like you're dealing with something in the workplace, it's stressing you out. You go to this meeting, okay, we've done with this meeting what we can do now. Do I want to worry about this for the rest of my day? No. Have I finished this matter now? Yeah. You take the book, the file on it, and you close the book. And in your mind, you're closing the book on this matter. You put it aside. That way you can now deal with other matters. This is a life skill that's going to help you in the workplace. If you're having an argument with someone, right, you write down in your diary, you're having an argument with someone, feeling uncomfortable, close the book on it. Put the book aside. Don't get caught up in the patterns. Patterns are exactly what this card represents. It represents the patterning. It represents the habitual things that we do. It represents stubbornness on a deep and spiritual level, not being able to change easily. It represents that when we're looking at our shadow, not necessarily in a positive or in a negative way, because that structure, that fixedness that this card represents in Taurus is really powerfully grounding. But grounding is limiting. And we need the limitations of this card. So this card, as we gaze at this card, becomes a powerful grounding tool. another part of this powerful ritual that we're doing. It's the symbolic. Observe the symbols, observe him, observe the posture that he's sitting in, observe how you feel looking at this image. And this then becomes an hour of your day, basically. Now, to supercharge the memory and to take the memory to the next level is to start a powerful practice. I would say after like 4 or 5 months or 6 months of doing this, you might be ready to add another arrow to your quiver. This means that on certain times, you're going to do a very enhanced review. Powerful times. It's very good to do them on solstice, right? So your solstice review, you've organized your schedule so that you've got not 15 minutes for a daily review or 10 minutes for a daily review, but 20 minutes, half an hour, right? And you do a review of day by day. Today, yesterday, you go back. You go back, you go back, you go back. So you start at point. The solstice point is a good point. And at that solstice point, you put a memory beaker point down while you're starting your training. Or at any point, it could be a New Year's Day, whatever it is. I would recommend working with the solstices. And when you get to the next point of that point, because you're not doing this for 6 months, so it will be easy to put a solstice point, maybe 2-3 months into your training, and then the next solstice point. And you put a flag in the ground. Make a flag, okay? Make a flag. I'm going to put a flag in the ground. And draw something on that flag, or put an image on that flag. Literally something that sticks in the ground. And it sounds fascinating. Powerful ritual. And be aware of that. Take a photo of that flag that you've planted in the ground, wherever you do it. And put that photo somewhere. Print it. Put it in your room. Unconsciously creating a connection with that point in time. And now allow 3 months to go. Next point, you now create a new flag. Put a new flag in the ground. And then you do that evening an entire run backwards. Going back day by day by day by day by day by day through the first month, through the next day by day, through the next month, going back. Take your time. It's obviously not going to be a 10-minute session. It could be a half an hour session. It could be 20 minutes, 25 minutes, whatever. Give yourself a little bit of time for it and go back for the whole 3-month session. You've done that. That's great, right? Now, you do that the next solstice as well. And you do that the next solstice. Now, this shadow work is not something you're going to be doing for 3 weeks or 3 months. I did shadow work with them. What the shah, I'm a shadow worker. No. This is a long-term adventure. Think of it as learning martial arts, right? Did you train for 3 months and now you feel like you've done martial arts? You're good to go? Wash your hands of the martial arts? No. You want to train in martial arts? You want to get anywhere with it? You're going to be doing it for years. Years of your life. Any devotion. Yoga? Oh, I went for a few yoga classes. I'm a yoga. No, if you're going to do yoga, you do it for a year. You do it for years before you get a real handle on what it is that you're doing. So go through a cycle of this. You can, by the time you get to this third cycle of your solstice, be going back a whole year. But I would say wait. Having done that whole year with your flags in the ground, you get to a year. Now you don't need to play with flags anymore because it's now become an unconscious habit, subconsciously. So you now go back for the whole year. You do a whole year in one of your things. Now you might need 45 minutes. You flip back through you're only aware of the emotional ways that you felt. You might be noticed, I feel much stronger. Then you might, as you're getting back and going, oh, I remember feeling unconscious. You just allow these memories to come into consciousness. And then, of course, your best friend is your diary. Everything that gets done gets diarized. The point of the diary is just to put the information into a book so that you can close the book on it, right? And so the next 2 years, you then learn to go back a whole year. Once you've done that whole year, you then think to yourself, well, let's do that for like the next. So we did this year. The next time, let's do 2 years. Next time, let's go 3 years. Next time, let's do a whole chunk of my life. And within 3 years or 4 years, you're able to go back to your childhood completely. Now it becomes a long meditation, right? But you've had time to slowly but surely lengthen this, lengthen this, lengthen this. Now we're able to regress ourselves and go all the way back through our memory train and learn to retrace our steps step by step, going backwards in time, backwards in time, backwards in time, until we're little children again and we're re-experiencing things that happened to us as kids. Now, why do we need to do this slowly? Why is it important not to rush? Because if you were to force yourself to regress yourself into your childhood in a hurry, all of those heavy, powerful emotions are going to flood through into your psyche, and you're not going to have time to process them slowly and take your time easily, and they could become destabilizing. They could become emotionally vexing. They could produce unwanted and not positive reactions within your sphere of consciousness. Now, this then becomes the process whereby we start to loosen all of those elements upon ourselves. And we have now been becoming conscious, we've been becoming honest, and we've been fully becoming aware of these experiences. Here's the next exercise. Now, this is a powerful one. What are the issues that we feel within ourselves that are not positive? Well, I've been doing shadow work now for like a couple of years, and I've noticed, I feel this way, I've got this. You're starting to get a good sense of who you are and what your weaknesses are and what your strengths are. I avoid confrontation. I feel like I can't speak my mind when I'm around people I look up to, whatever it is, right? You then imagine that and you go, well, there was a time in my past when I was in a situation with so-and-so and so-and-so, and it happened to me when I was young, and so now I've noticed there's this pattern that I'm following from there, and it obviously started when I was younger. Okay. Now what we do is we start exercising creative visualization. We go into a meditative state, and we visualize within our mind a situation where there are people. Use imaginary characters. Yeah, strangers, powerful, or people you know. And there's confrontation, and I get involved, and I'm part of the confrontation. But in my mind, before this confrontation, I have decided I want to go into a confrontation. But I've sat down and I've considered, how would I like to behave in a confrontation? I'd like to be calm. I'd like to be logical. I'd like to be reasonable. I'd like to respond. I'd like to be honest, integrous. I'd like to express myself, but I'd like to also use tact. Now we do this creative visualization where we're in that situation, but we are doing all the things that we wished we would do, and we imagine ourselves in that situation doing these things. And in the process of this, we come out of this, and we've imagined ourselves daydreaming, in a sense, that we're in this situation and how we handle that confrontation. I used this technique for training my martial arts when I was a child. Back in 1989, 1991, 90. It turned me into a powerful force, right? Because I would meditate and I would okay, physical confrontation. 2 guys are coming at me like this and like this. How would I want to respond to this? I'd like to respond like that. 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 And so in my mind, I'm dealing with this meditatively. When I get in the ring, somebody comes to me, I don't think about it. It's automatic response because I've programmed my unconscious to do what I want my body to do. So if you're a sports person, you can use this very powerfully to enhance your sports potentials. Namaste, everybody that's joining the circle, joining the scene. So, yeah. All of these basic techniques can be used for anything in life, right? Any aspect. You want to be better at your job. You could visualize yourself doing your job better. Visualize a time when you didn't do so well, change the situation, and visualize yourself being in a similar situation, but this time doing what you wanted to do. And see how that made you feel. How would you feel? Imagine it. And you come out feeling, oh, actually, we feel pretty good. It's not so bad. It's not so bad. That, just put it down in the diary. Did this creative visualization. I felt euphoric. I felt empowered. Empowered. Remember how that feeling. Now, remember that feeling of being empowered. When you're watching the sun, I felt empowered. Just remember that feeling. Allow the sun to give you that feeling of being empowered. And absorb the empowerment from the sun. So that you become conscious, awakened, and powerful. And bit by bit, you will be able to isolate the issues and then use creative visualization. Using all these techniques slowly over years and years and years. And then the regression element. You get to the point where you've been training with the daily review for 5 years and you important on your birthday. Well, it doesn't have to be your birthday. It's my birthday. I'd like to do this. You go back and you go back. You go back. You move back. Now you're going to reach time block points, right? You're going to reach time block points. This is important. If you live where you lived when you were a child, go back to the place where you were. We lived in that house. Is the house still standing? Yeah. Go to the people that are living in that house and say, look, I know this is going to sound weird, but, go to them, show them your ID. This is who I am. Show them photographs of you living in that house as a child and say, I lived in this house as a child. And there's a lot of nostalgia. Is it any chance I could come in and sit in my old room just for 1 minute? They might say no. You say, okay. Is it okay if I just spend a minute in the garden? They might say no. You say, okay, that's fine. Just going to the land or walking in to the property to ask them, you're already connecting with the earth. Your memories are in that earth. We think of memories being in our heads. Well, let's think again. We store memories in the universe. And the universe becomes an embodiment of our memory. So, if you can go to places where you were when you were a child and meditate there, just sit there and absorb. If you can't, just go there. If, pick up a stone from that property. Just pick up a stone that's been in the garden and take it with you. Now you've got a tool that you can meditate on, a stone that came from that garden, right? Anything. It doesn't have to be your home. It could be a playground where you used to play. It could be a school where you used to go to. It could be a popular place where you went. Skate park. It could be a cinema where you went as a child. You want to reconnect with a place where you were when you were at different ages of your life. And you'll find by all of this work that we're talking about where the important points are. And the tree. Vincent. Tree. It doesn't get any better than a tree. It really doesn't get any better than a tree, does it? Because it's a living thing that can hey, psst. What do you say? So there's a communication happening with a living thing, which adds power to the momentum of this experience. So you then go to that place and you reabsorb your memories. Even when you're not at that place, you concentrate on that place By the way, time and space being an illusion means that if you focus on that place, you reabsorb the memory from that place. So you don't have to actually physically go there. You might be in a different country. That's fine. Imagine the front door. Imagine the property. Imagine your bedroom. That's enough. It helps to go and get a stone. It helps to go to the place. It helps for the people to say, you're bloody nuts. You're crazy. What the hell you want to come into your bedroom for? What did you, something like an opportunity to face the shadow. Oh, I'm reacting to the people these people are saying. Oh, I'm reacting. Interesting. They're shame. They're spewing a lot of nonsense vomit. I hope they don't hurt themselves psychologically by creating a shadow reflection of themselves. Just observe. Oh, some part of me wants to feel affected. Interesting. You know, smile, because they can't really affect you, because they don't have any power over you. By this stage, you become like much more empowered within yourself. And what other people do is their business. It's not such a big deal. So the more we practice this shadow work, the stronger we become. And we've got to think about it for the long run. This is something we're going to do our whole lives. You don't get to the point where you've done your shadow work. You get to the point where you've done a lot of shadow work and it becomes an automatic thing and you don't have to think about it too much. Yes. But you walk past a mirror and you look in that mirror and you look in your eyes and you go, I look a little bit like this. I look a little bit dissatisfied. I look a little frustrated. Note to self, looking frustrated. Note to self, looking like this. I must have some kind of emotions that I'm pushing down. Note to self, in my meditation, observe my feelings. By then, it's not, when you're first driving a car, you have to think about the changing of the gears and the manipulation of the accelerator and the brakes and the steering wheel and all of that, right? And then that becomes automatic, autopilot. Then you have to just concentrate on like, oh, okay, the road is turning left, there's a road sign there. And then there comes a point where that becomes automatic. Then you've got to concentrate on, so where am I going? Am I going left or am I going right? Where do I want to get to? That then becomes your focus. But then you know where you're going and that's automatic. And you're now just driving. Because you're driving home from work. You have to think about where you're driving. You're just driving home from work. You know? So in the same way that over time that becomes automatic, the shadow work becomes automatic and it becomes an automatic part of your practice and your life. But it will always be a part of your life. Though it takes years to ingrain this, in the same way that it takes years to ingrain martial arts techniques into the unconscious. Right? Because otherwise you're confronted by a situation and you take a wild swing at someone and you don't generate the power and you don't use what's available technique-wise. But once you've done techniques enough times, if you ever have to block or you ever have to throw a punch, the techniques have become a part of you. It's the same as martial arts. It's the same as dancing, right? If you're like doing like any kind of dancing and you've trained for years at that dancing and let's say you've been going for Latino dancing and you've been doing it for a number of years, you don't have to think about the salsa steps. You're focusing on how you feel. You're focusing on the emotion of the feeling with the steps, because the steps are not just a part of what you do. So that's like really important to recognize. So yeah, these are the fundamental important techniques for working with the shadow. And then this visualization technique becomes a powerful way to revision how we wished we could work with those things. Not to be, once again, thinking about it. This is the key. We can't fix it. We can't change it. We can imagine how I would like to behave, and that's how I will feel if I behave like that. That's interesting, okay? Put it in the book, close the book. Don't need to think about it. Your unconscious has been told that if I start actually embracing this, I'm going to feel good. So then there's an emotional imperative that's been set up, an instinctual imperative that we will feel the need to express. And in the right time, we will express. And when we do this, we will catch ourselves and go, wow, I feel pretty good about myself. Wow, I handled that situation pretty well. And then that becomes the shadow. Now this is important. Then that positive quality becomes a shadow. So we then have to put that positive quality into the place and go, I feel all positive about that. Why do I feel egotistical about that? What's that about? Okay, let it be. But do not judge. So the keys to shadow work is not to judge, not to fix, right? Not to think about, and not to read your diary. But your diary becomes your number one tool, and your sun becomes your number two tool. So the sun, you want to then have this solar gazing as a part. I'll add something to this. When you've been doing this for like a couple of years, you can add the lunar gaze to the schedule and go and do some deep sublimation work. This is another way to bring about some really powerful currents within but this is more dangerous, which is why I haven't mentioned it. But I would say once you've been doing it, say a few years, 3 or 4 years, and you've been dedicated and you've been sun gazing every day, for 4 years, whatever, and it's part of your routine, it's part of your practice, right? If you're in a double-story house and it's raining, you can still go upstairs and watch the sun. Nothing's stopping you, you know? So you can still engage with the sun. The sun is important. And you can then use the lunar, the moon, to generate this power. At which point you're watching the moon rise, right? And you're observing the moon's effect. Don't overdo it, because the lunar can turn you into a lunatic. You don't want to be a lunatic. It's easy to become a lunatic. I've been a lunatic. And look, it's fun being a lunatic. But it's not necessarily going to be productive. You want to keep your day job. You want to keep your work ticking over. You don't want to get to work and people go, hey, the cuckoo banana. Hey, look at this cuckoo banana. You don't want that business happening. You don't want to become a cuckoo banana. Very important. So, but the lunar activity is a very powerful work. That's going deep into the Shiva currents. If you're going to be working with the lunar qualities, I would reckon by that stage that you are working with mantra. So don't just go diving into the lunar. Start working with mantra. Now, mantra can be used very powerfully. I would use the Shiva mantra. Now you got Gayatri mantra. Gayatri mantra. I would start with a Ganapataya mantra. So it could be Om Ganapataya Namaha, Om Gam Ganapataya Namaha. The Gam is the powerful Bij symbol, Bij syllable that creates that powerful Ganesha movement. Om Gam Ganapataya Namaha. You could do that in cycles of 9. If you got a rosary, you could do 108. You could do that while you're staring at the sun at some point. I'll put a mantra in here. You guys can come back to this and you can learn this. So this really empowering Ganesha mantra, which is going to set the 5 gunas straight for you, is a step mantra. It's got 9 steps. So it's working on all of these enneagram elements, right? Hence 9 steps to the mantra. So that is Om Swaha, Aum Shrim Swaha, Aum Shrim Hrim Swaha, Aum Shrim Hrim Klim Swaha, Aum Shrim Hrim Klim Glaum Swaha, Aum Shrim Hrim Klim Glaum Gam Swaha, Aum Shrim Hrim Klim Glaum Gam Ganapataya Swaha, Aum Shrim Hrim Klim Glaum Gam Ganapataya Vara Varada Swaha, Aum Shrim Hrim Klim Glaum Gam Ganapataya Vara Varada Sharvo Janamaiva Shamanaya Swaha. So that is a powerful step Ganesha mantra. That is a purifying mantra that'll remove the obstacles, the impediments, that'll cleanse the aura. So the obstacles left by the shadow work, the obstacles preventing you from doing the shadow work, that mantra can become a powerful tool. But you don't need to do the 9-step mantra. Aum Gam Ganapataya Namaha. That one chanted over and over 27, 36, 54, or 108 times. The same thing with the Ganesha step mantra. It could be 9 times. It could be 18 times. It could be 27. It could be 36. It could be 54, or it could be 108 times. If you're doing 108 times for that powerful step Ganesha mantra, it's going to have really intense effects on your psyche. Bomb, take a trip. How are you doing? How are you guys doing? I hope you guys are all well. So those particular mantra are going to be particularly useful. You could do the lesser banishing ritual, which I'm sure you can find. It's different, same, different, same. Same idea being presented, because it's all about cleansing the different elemental energies of our being. And here we see the enneagram. We see there is, right? What do we see? We see 1, 2, 3, 4. We see it pivoting around 5. And we see the negative effects of the other 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got 4. We've got the yang and the 4 yin. And they're pivoting around the 5. Right? Mercury, adventurer. So we've got the 4 elements being cleansed when we work with the 9, the enad. Curiously, just by the by. So the Ganesha mantra is a powerful cleansing technique. Now, a mantra that is going to take you towards fundamental truth is Gayatri. It's a safe mantra to work with. If you're working with the traditional Gayatri mantra, that's very strict. It has to be done during the sunrise. That's what they say. I used to do it at different times, but like in the morning when the sun is going up towards its solar maximum is really when you want to work with the traditional Gaya mantra. That's the Aum Bhurbhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varanyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Diyo Yona Prachodayat. So that's your basic Gayatri mantra. There is a step version of the Gayatri mantra, of that Gayatri mantra. Though the Gayatri mantra that I prefer working with is a Shiva Gayatri mantra, slightly different. With that other Gayatri mantra, you could work it. That's something I should probably get back to at another time, because that particular mantra it's a Vaishnu mantra, where the Shiva mantra, Shiva is more impartial to darshan than Vaishnu. Shiva is not fussy, and Shiva is the heart of forgiveness. Truly, forgiveness is the heart of Shiva. So Shiva is the powers of the Holy Spirit. The power of the Holy Spirit is more forgiving than the potential of the father or the potential of the child. The child moves you towards a state of deep perfection. The power of the Holy Spirit, Mother Mary, right? What do you do when you do something wrong and you're a Catholic? You do Hail Marys. You don't say the Our Father. You don't invoke Christus. You work with the powers of the Holy Spirit, Mary. There's a reason why you work with the powers of the Holy Spirit, Mary, when you've done something that's not good or that you don't feel good about. So this, just to give you an idea of the Holy Spirit's more enduring towards these potentials than other aspects of the Trinity. So Shiva, there's an old form of Shiva that I'm particularly fond of because Rudra represents anger of the Holy Spirit. It represents the wrath of the Holy Spirit on one level. It represents really stripping everything away. So the Rudra Gayatri is an easy Gayatri mantra that you can do anytime. You see, Shiva is not fussy. Oh, but you got to do this Gayatri mantra at this time when the solar energy was with this point, and if you don't do it at that time, the effects on the consciousness are going to be a little bit different. The Rudra is like designed to be done at midnight, designed to be done at different times for the sadhana. So a Rudra mantra is about engaging with the unconscious in the universe, macrocosmically and microcosmically, in order to gain insights and an enlightened perspective of the workings of reality or the workings of the self, microcosmically, hand in hand. So this is Aum Tat Purushaya Vitmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Ridra Prachodayat. Aum Tat Purushaya Vitmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. So you chant that over and over again. Once again, syllables, chunks, 27, 36, 54, 108. 108 is a good number for that mantra. So these are things that you can do in your off time when you want to add to your practice. The Gayatri mantra. Chanting of the Ganesha mantra is a good opening ritual to entering into doing any kind of shadow work, and exiting. This could be before you go to your evening practice and your morning practice. So remember, Ganesha is the elephant that comes to remove the obstacles. So you're working with the elephant archetype from a shamanic perspective. And the elephant represents memory. So Ganesha is a good archetype to work with, just, perspective-wise, because we want to empower the memory. So I think those are like the basic notes on the shadow work that I think I've covered pretty much most of it. I've managed to do it in under 1 hour and 35 minutes, which is pretty impressive, I think, for me. It gives us time to look at this a little bit more closely, because I wanted to get through the basic exercises, being very important to give a structure. I mean, you guys can always come back to the video, and other people that find this video will come back. This idea of this enneagrammic notion here is really something to look at. So I'll leave it on the screen for a while. You'll be able to come back, take a screenshot of it or whatever when you watch it. These 9 elements, and you can put different elements. So the sun represents egoism and insensitivity, because the sun and the egoism and insensitivity are the negative traits of the number 1. On a positive level, it represents integrity. It represents a powerful creative impulse of self-expression. Very positive and powerful, strong people have that number 1. Number 2, in its positive form, it represents empathy that becomes intuitive, that you'll just understand the people that you're in contact with. Though the hypersensitivity and the impressionabilism means like You'll look up to people, you'll meet people, you'll be easily impressed by people. If you're easily impressed by people, you need to focus on this number 2. You need to look at it. So understanding your astrology, understanding the numbers around your name, the numbers around who you are, can give you insights to these numbers, where you've got strengths, where you've got weaknesses. Optimism. Right. So me, okay, let me break myself down a little, yeah. So I'm a number 1 on one level, right? My psychic number is a number 1. I'm born on the 1st, right? I'm born on the 8th month, so there's an element of that. My number breaks down to number 4, so that's a builder. Builder represents knowledge, right? Number 4 represents that structure of that structure through which we can experience information. Builders have got to know what they're doing, got to be organized, got to have a clear plan of what they want to do. Focus. You don't break the concentration of a builder, not easily. But there's that stubborn element and can become controlling, something I've had to watch. My name number's number 9, so I'm fundamentally an activist. I can be very impulsive, and I can get frustrated when I feel like I'm being... liberty is a big part of this number 9. There's a humanitarian element to it, so it's not particularly selfish, where the number 8 can be more selfish focused, right? So there's a selfishness element that can be here, which can be a weakness from the materialism and the competitive. I want to get everything for myself. I want to win. I want to get all the prestige. I want to get all the resources. Activism, the impulsiveness and the frustration means like things aren't happening quick enough. I want to make things better. I want to change things. So the 9 then becomes, embroiled in that particular dynamic. Like I've got to be a trailblazer. The leader means like I don't have time to deal with your nonsense. This is the mission. We're on the mission. Like get with the program. I'm not tuning into your feelings. You can make people feel unheard. You can make people feel disrespected. Make people feel unvalued. Quality of number 1. Careful. This is something I have to watch with. My sun is in my midhaven, number 1, and it's in Leo, number 1. So I've got to watch for that. My name being a 3, 6, and a 9, right? But breaking down to 9. Once again, number 108, my names, means that some part of me can be competitive. Some part of me can be materialistic. Wanting, like, there can be a greediness. So how do you work with that energy? You move towards the opposite spectrum of it, right? Make a point of trying to give other people a chance. Make a point of not trying to just win. Like you literally conscientiously become aware of, okay, oh, this is me wanting to, just let it be. Let it be. That's a powerful mantra for Saturn, for example. 3, I can be overconfident. And when I'm overconfident, I can become scattered. I want to do this. I want to do that. I can have lots of ideas in my head, lots of like powerful creative impulses, right? That's great. That creativity is wonderful. But out of balance, it can become overwhelming. It can become overwhelming for other people. And that overconfidence means that people will want to follow you, right? Because especially if you got the 1 and the 3 working in that way. So for me, the 3 are the vowels in my name, right? The 6 are the consonants in my name. So the consonants, an element, envy has never really been a thing for me. Vanity. I used to be extremely vain. I used to be so vain. It's embarrassing to admit it. But I found a cure for vanity, right? I started growing a beard when I was like, I don't know, my early 20s. Because I thought I was God's gift to women. And I had like women trying to like, be with me and stuff. And like when I used to dance, all the women would come and stand around me and they would clap. And they would like try and rub their bodies against me. I wasn't really interested in them, but it was an ego boost. I was like, oh. And all the guys would be like envious of me, like what's he got? Because like I just didn't give a damn what anybody thought. That's number 1. So the strength of number 1 is to not care what other people think. which is a powerful strength, but you do need to have the empathy and the sensitivity to know that there are times when you have to care what other people think. When you're on a dance floor and you're dancing, you don't want to care what other people think. Screw them. It doesn't matter. But when there's a human being in front of you that's having a dilemma, that's when you actually, I need to actually care about what you're feeling, what's going on. So you need to be able to engage and find that balance. So you look at this chart and you find your own, where do you fit into this chart? This is something that you do. This is just intellectual work. This is not specifically part of the shadow work. This is like a fun exercise of mind. Don't give it too much importance, but observe it. The real meat and potatoes, the real practice is what we've provided. Those exercises, and there are other exercises as well. But looking at this can be quite powerful, looking at your astrology as it relates to this. So the builder, you know what's right. What is a fact? I know the truth. You don't know what you're talking about. Builder. The builder knows. Yeah. They know how to build a building. Don't come and tell me how to build a building. You don't know what you're talking about. I know how to build a building. That's a builder's notion. Number 4. Number 5 can become incoherent and become nervous, right? The mouth working at a different speed to the thoughts. The thoughts could be moving so fast that the mouth can't keep up with them. So many ideas you want to communicate at once that, you become sort of overwhelmed by your own thinking. That's a mercurial potential, right? Also, the potential to be flippant, the potential to be not so true, because you're just saying everything that comes into your mind. Whether it's completely true or not, you didn't think about it. You're just saying it. That can lead to an appearance of being incoherent because you're talking a lot of nonsense. Saying one thing and then saying another thing that contradicts that thing and then saying another thing that contradicts that thing. It's like, well, what are you saying? Where do you sit on this? So that number 5, Mercury, is such a powerful, fast-moving force. You want to slow it down because then it's very, very powerful. Mercury wants to be slowed down. So you slow Mercury down by meditation. And then Mercury becomes like a transcendent, very powerful force. Number 6, harmony, art, working with art, very good for number 6. Number 6 is also very much to do with helping other people. So desiring comfort could be the negative element of number 6 when it becomes overly focused on the workaholic's perspective, focused towards the workaholic, towards me in competition. So number 6 also wants to help other people, wants to be a helper in a sense, wants to care, wants to produce harmony for others and harmony for myself. So, practicing balance is the key to number 6, Libra, right? 6 is also related to Taurus. So 6, you see there's got a connection in the drawing here between 6 and 4. There's an element there being expressed. It's important. Looking at that, the balance of number 8 is being applied when we're looking at Libra. Because this is 4 facing itself. 4 facing itself. When 4 faces itself, it becomes a dynamic instrument of movement. And now we're looking at a higher level of vibrational harmony between physical and spiritual. Number 8 is a very powerful spiritual number, but it can become materialist. The mystic, you can become so aloof and so escapist. You can be thinking all these high and lofty spiritual things in your mind, but not applying them in your life. Number 7, if you find that that's something that's happening with you, that's something to consider, right? But you see 7 as a direct doorway to number 9. It wants to be expressed. It wants to find an expressive way. And you see 7 also relates to the adventure of number 5. So 7 is very high intellectual potential. But that intellectual potential can become like so deeply lost within myself that I no longer am really relating to everybody else. And relating to everybody else is number 5. 5 is very much communication, like bringing in information, giving out information, yeah? And we see that number 5 then bounces to number 3. And so we see how these things connect. I'll show you another version of an enneagram I'm going to break down the enneagram further, so that will probably be useful. There's a third enneagram that needs to be put in here, and that will really give a final showing the different connections between, and that's the enneagram that goes like this. It basically is a like done in the same way that you do a 5-pointed star, but it's a 9-pointed star. So, you know, you would be going from 4 and 5 up, and then you'll be going there, and then you'll be going from there to 8 and 7, like connecting with its opposite number, but going all the way around. Anyway, when you see the picture, it will make more sense. So understanding these forces, and these elements, Saturn, Saturn's place in your chart. 7 is obviously Neptune, but it relates to your south node. 4 is obviously the north node, but it also has an element of Uranus. Uranus has got a powerful vibrational connection with the sun. Neptune has got a powerful vibrational connection with the moon. They stand almost as a duet in a sense. So Saturn and Jupiter are effectively in a state of opposition, if you will. Mercury and Mars have this interesting relation between them, where Mercury represents change, Mars represents completion, So to understand, and the completion of Mars is why Mars is so headstrong. They want to get to the end of the journey. They don't have time to waste nonsense and this and this. They want to get done. They want to move forwards. That's why they can be so impulsive, and why they can be frustrated when things aren't happening quickly enough. Right? Aries people, you know what I'm talking about. I've got Mars in conjunction with my moon. So, there's a powerful element. This is why 9 is so important to my name. You see it in the astrology pointing back at you. So, yeah, understanding your horoscope, understanding the numbers, they govern your name, the numbers of your birth, important. Understanding the numbers. I live at number 10. Why do I live at number 10? Well, number 10, I'm psychic number 1. So I have manifested my psychic number in my home. So what does that mean? What does it mean to be a psychic number 1? Go and do these, find out what your number is, and go do a little bit of research into the numerology. And use the numerology to observe different currents of yourself. By observing yourself with numerology, you're going to go, well, I'm not like that. Well, I am like that. And you go, oh, why do you want to believe you're like that? Oh, why do I want to believe I'm like that? Interesting. Why do you want to believe you're not like that? You see, just ask questions and then let it be. That will stimulate, and at some point doing your actual shadow work practice, that will come to consciousness, and that'll be the point where, it starts to stimulate deeper currents. So yeah, that is get her done. Thanks, Vincent. Vincent's giving me the clue that, like, okay, it's gone on for long enough now. We're done now. You're right, Vincent. We have gone on for quite long. If you guys have got any ideas or questions, yeah, my name is 369. No, my name is 639. Yeah? 6, 3, and 9. But it adds up to 108. So, but in Chaldean, it's 70. So use different ciphers. Like, that's worth looking at. 70 as opposed to 108, So look at different ciphers and how they sort of work with your name. It will give you different aspects of your psyche that you can observe. So yeah, do you guys have anything that you want to, any questions that you guys have that you think is relevant or important? Now's your chance to ask me. I think I've pretty much given the whole story. Okay. One more exercise. Before you start any shadow work and after you end any shadow work, here's a simple exercise you can do. Imagine either that you're breathing in light and that you feel your aura vibrating with light, or imagine that there's a sphere of light in front of you, and imagine yourself stepping into that sphere of light in your mind. You can even stand up and imagine the sphere and step into the sphere and imagine how the light's going to feel bouncing around your aura and your energy body. Can you spell cast sobriety? Sobriety. Get an amethyst, dude. Put the amethyst into your glass when you drink. That's what the Romans did. Amethyst is a very good stone, you know. When we look at amethyst and what amethyst represents, I think there's something powerful. You get different color amethysts. You get amethysts that are actually not, I don't like those amethysts too much. I mean, my favorite amethyst is like the violet of Aquarius. But you get those magenta violet amethysts that are the color of Pisces. And that amethyst color is very good. Get one, wear it, feel the vibrations of it. Put it into a glass of water and drink it as well. Leave it in the glass of water for like a while. And put it under the moon. Let the moon's energy charge it, you know. Amethyst, very powerful. That's going to have a vibrational effect on the water. It's going to structure the water that you're going to drink. And wearing that is going to structure your energetic body. If you can get an amethyst from Namibia, you know, if you can get hold of a Brandberg amethyst from Namibia, that's very, very powerful spell casting potential. Very often you can find a Brandberg from Namibia that's got water in it. That's the business. They're not going to be cheap if you get one with water in it. And you'll find the water, find the bubble. There'll be a little bubble that'll move around in the water inside the stone. It'll have ancient water that's locked in that stone for like thousands of years. And a little bubble moving around, ancient air in that little bubble. So it's something quite powerful. So, yeah, I think, you know, if that's something you want to focus on, obviously the 12 steps. Did we forget the 12 steps? The 12 steps might be, oh, for your mom. Okay. Well, that's good. Thank God for that. I thought maybe you'd come here after a few drinks. It's like, what's the time where you feeling tipsy at this time of day? Take a little trip. It's quite an interesting time, but you never know. You might be on holiday. You might be like sitting in the sun somewhere. But yeah, I would say like an amethyst is a very powerful tool. Get her an amethyst and focus on that. Different colors of amethyst. You want the one that's got more of that like almost magenta, pink, violet color. And you get some of the amethyst that's got more of the magenta in it, you know. So that's the one that I would recommend. That's the one that I would recommend for sobriety. And also, of course, you know, maybe talking to your mom, asking her like how she feels, you know. So this is what you do, right? It's so cheeky. You go to your mom when she's like badly hungover. You go, "Hi, mom. How do you feel?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm okay." So, you sure? You don't look like you feel totally okay. Are you sure you're okay? Like, how's your head feel? You know, get her to acknowledge how bad she feels when she drinks, and then gently guide the conversation. Say, you know, I can't drink, mom, because when I drink, I get such a terrible headache after I drink. I don't know how you're able to like process the alcohol as well as you do. Yeah, it's a positive thing. Don't know how you able to process the alcohol so well, mom. But basically what you want to do is you want to remind your mom of how crap she feels after she drinks, and just gently insert that in, and like keep Until one day she goes, I'm tired of having a bloody headache. It's because I'm drinking. She wants to become frustrated with the fact that she's drinking, right? So words can be spells that can help to subtly influence someone's unconscious in a positive way towards a healing potential. If they're missing the point, then a little bit of nudging in the right direction by a loved family member can be exactly what's needed, right? But not being judgmental, say, oh, you really shouldn't drink so much, Mom. Don't ever do that. Find a subtle way of sort of working with it and just, oh, got a headache. I'm so sorry to hear that. Here, let me help you. Ooh, one more thing, skeletium. Take a little trip. Skeletium. Skeletium is used for overcoming addictions. It's a South African herb. Yeah, this is why I'm aware that like this is not just a small thing. Skeletium is a natural thing. It's a natural herb. You can find it on the internet. But skeletium basically it will help for the withdrawal elements. It will help for the emotional fixations that's connected to the drinking. Dude, like I feel for you, man. Like when you've been drinking for a long time, I can only imagine how hard it is. Like I'm lucky I don't. I've known people that have had issues with drinking, and I'm a little bit out of my depth here, if I'm going to be honest, because I never really had that kind of relationship with alcohol. I've had that kind of relationship with cannabis, but you know me, like I'll smoke like 100, 150 grams of cannabis in a month. I'll do that for like 6 months in a year. I'll be bored. But then the next day I'll kick it to the curb and won't touch it again for a year or two. So I've never really had an issue with addictions when it comes to that. But I've been excessive when I do. So like, when the evening comes and I'm chilling, I'll smoke like, quickly. I'll smoke like, quickly smoke 5 grams. Just a few hours, 2 hours in the evening if I really want to get onto it, which isn't good. It's like there's a lot of burning and sort of big, fat, ridiculous things. One more. So I do have some experience of like being excessive, but like I think the only way is shadow work, really. Here, take a little trip. The only way is shadow work, helping your mom to start doing some shadow work. But doing shadow work within yourself, now here's the key, doing shadow work within yourself will bring you to the point of being so in tune with yourself that you know exactly what to say to your mom, because she's your mother. Nobody knows her the way you know her. So you're the one where the answers are going to be more likely to be discovered. If there's anyone that knows how to press her buttons in a positive way, it's you. Though in order to be able to express that knowledge that's within you, you need to get out of your own way. So working on yourself will then, when it becomes like a digested thing and you've been doing it a lot and doing it hard, that might help to carry over to your mom. And also your DNA is tuned into your mom's DNA. So when you start working hard on the vibrational frequency of your DNA, because it will naturally change its frequencies as the work continues, because you're not changing it, it grows on its own. That frequency of vibration will affect the frequency of vibration of her DNA because of harmonic resonance. And so she will start reacting to the shadow work that you're doing. You'll observe this when you're doing the shadow work quite hard. But there is no easy solution for this. And at the end of the day, what it comes down to, you can't solve her problem. That's really what it comes down to. You can't solve her problem. You can maybe try and be a part of her solution, but you cannot solve her problem. She's got to be the one to do it. as she's got to be the one to want to do it. And all you can do is maybe help to inspire her to want to do it. So try and get her out of the house. Try and get her in the sun. Try and take her out. Try and take her out to nature. Try and inspire her to go out with you to nature, to places where there's trees and birds and a bubbling brook or a stream or a river or the sea or the ocean or the desert or whatever, and let nature do its work on her, because she needs to be inspired. It's really what it comes down to. So yeah, Skiletium. Yeah, Skiletium. You can find it on, I'm pretty sure can you find it on Amazon? Amazon.com. Can you find it on Amazon.com? I'm looking now to see if Skiletium's there. You can buy it from South Africa. Skiletium with an M. Let's see if they've got it here. Yeah, there you go, dude. Oh, another name for it is Kanna. Kanna. Skiletium, I'm seeing here 120, 50 milligrams. 50 milligrams. Oh, there's another one with 100 milligrams. Okay. But you could take 2 tabs of the 50 milligrams. That could work. 100 milligrams seems like better. Then they've got other ones here, platinum, Skiletium. So yeah, you can find Skiletium. Try and get a good source for it. Good. Skiletium is the bomb, man. It's the bomb. And you can use a lot of it, huh? You can use a lot of it. It works very, very well with that Ayurvedic herb, which is also good for concentration, also good for anxiety and stress, because when you're trying to move away from alcohol, the anxiety and the stress is going to be an issue. What is the other one? Ashwagandha. Ashwagandha. Is it spelled ashwagandha? You can get it there as well. So I don't know if I'm spelling it right here, ashwagandha. But so ashwagandha is the other one. And ashwagandha works very well with Skiletium because they support each other. Why is that not doing that? Ashwagandha. Yep. Organic ashwagandha. There you go. So I would say get on the ashwagandha. The ashwagandha, by the way. Now, let me give you just a feedback about Skiletium. Skiletium has a certain element of appetite suppressants. I want you to know that. Ashwagandha makes for good appetites, so they balance each other out. So I would recommend taking the ashwagandha in the morning and the Skiletium in the evening. Yeah? Because the ashwagandha gives you an appetite to eat in the morning. And you want to eat during the day. If your mom's been drinking, there's the danger of her nutritional elements being low, right? So just be aware of how it affects appetites. So ashwagandha in the morning, ashwagandha causes your body to become very good at pulling in nutrition. Your appetite is not diminished. It's good, healthy appetite, and your digestion gets improved. So the nutrition being pulled into your bones and into your organs is empowered by ashwagandha. And then the Skiletium in the evening will help to prevent the cravings. So like you can have Skiletium when you eat your supper kind of thing, and that will, so yeah, that's just my food for thought. Just to be aware of that. People aren't always aware that Skiletium has that effect. But if you're taking it in the mornings, it might make you not want to eat that much. And that's okay if you've got a good, strong appetite. But if she's been drinking, yeah, it's often the case. People get underweight when they drink if they've been doing it for a long time, because alcohol basically, it affects your liver, but it also affects your kidneys. And so the kidneys' ability to make the blood, and, this is important. Yeah, 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 yeah. Salt is good. The what salt is it? The same salt that you feed your plants. Um, what's that salt called? You know the salt I'm talking about. The salt that you put to soak your feet in. Oh, I can't believe I can't think of the name of that salt. But there's a particular salt that comes from the UK that has a name of a place in the UK in it, if you can think of it. And it's the same salt you feed your plants if you're growing plants and they've got a bit of a deficiency. What is it that's in that salt? I can't think at the moment. Um, right. Oh, synthetic heroin. Wow. Then, then you found the right medicine, because you don't want her to stop taking the drug. You want to get hold of her pills, right? And you want to start shaving off some of the pills, make them a little less, right? And then maybe talk to her about it. It's a little bit less on each pill. And if you can shave them a little bit more, a little bit less, so that over 6 months she's slowly decreasing the amount of pills she's taking, drugs, and then slowly increasing the ashwagandha and the skeletum until she's replacing the drugs with the skeletum and the ashwagandha and getting towards that sort of natural point. So that's how I would recommend to do it. Don't rush. Never ever rush when it comes to drugs. Anyway, that's the 2 hour point. Sending you all big love, big blessings, peace, honor, respect. I pray you got what you came for. Pray you enjoyed the lecture about shadow work. I pray you all find positive momentum moving forward. Narcotics Anonymous. Yeah. Shoo. Yeah. Difficult, man. Shalom, shalom. Yeah, man. I've known a lot of people, friends, to be on drugs. And I mean, I've been through all things in my life, but I'm lucky, never had an addictive problem. And I like the kind of things that I preferred were psychedelics anyway. They're not addictive. They're more like turn you into a helicopter pilot. Big love, big blessings to all of you. Take it easy. Keep the smile alive. I hope your mom's going to find positive momentum with healing. Respect and love to all of you. And till next time, Om Shanti. Jai Gurudev. Bravo. Bolenath Sabka Sat. May the spirit within you see the spirit within me, see the spirit within you, see the spirit within me, within us, within them. Om Shanti. Take care. Big love. Big blessings. Don't forget to smile.